Okay. And the magic machine tells me that I'm live. I can only be with you for a brief period of time. So I'm going to be doing my approach to the subject modularly. I've done my last video was talking about this slim bad boy, Skorne, a FKR kind of Morkborg tribute, Dark Souls TTRP tribute, and an interesting game by Sam Dobler. Like many of these OSR, NSR self published games, um, is it a complete game? Has it been play tested? Or is it more just food for thought? Um, and a lot of the criticisms that we see of these rules light systems, whether it's just the kind of, we say a load of Phaedrus live, get scorned on, dog. Hey, how you doing, baby? First in the live chat, gold medal onto thee, honey. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. Thank you for dropping by. Well worth purchasing. Look, these games, what do they ask for? At one point, I think it was pay what you want. I picked this up. I bought the physical copy for $4. I also bought the PDF on drive through recently, just so I could have a copy to throw up on the screen for you guys. Guys, come on. So I paid my dues twice over, and well worth it. I mean, I said before, even though I'm frustrated by these rules for what it doesn't say. We're talking about more about the diceless combat. Does it work? Does it not work? Is it explained enough? Is it theoretical? Is there an idea that Sam has that is a philosophical argument that is, or is it a system that he's just not articulated perfectly? Do we have to see it, or is it just something that I'm not getting because I'm too used to the old school ways of thinking? Diceless combat, I'm learning. What's the takeaway? What are we going to do basically in this video is I'm going to tell you. My first impressions were, hey, look, I'm reading this thing and I don't get it. While I've been familiar and I've seen systems where people were saying, I don't get this. There's no roll for damage. In the Cypher system, we have small weapons do a standard set of damage, medium weapons do a standard set of damage, heavy weapons do a standard set of damage. And Into the Odd, you have things where you have similar things where you have other systems, even old school first generation Fighting Fantasy. Everything is 2 hits of damage. There is no roll for damage, though the randomization happens in who gets hit. So we have systems where we are familiar with not rolling for damage, where Skorne is doubling down on the shock value, is that not only is there no roll for damage, we're clearly being told there's no roll for attack. So my first impression was, I don't know really what's going on here. So I went to, Sam has a blog. So I spent some time on his blog and I spent some time looking at some of the discussion that was happening on the FKR Discord. I also looked at these other books that I had for Diceless Dungeons, which is another system, but handles, again, it's diceless. They do combat without dice resolution. I also spent some time and looked at videos talking about older diceless RPG, maybe the first diceless RPG called Amber by a guy called Eric Wujak, who I knew because I knew of his association with Palladium RPGs. So I don't know Amber, but it seems like, again, it's similar to Skorne. What basically I came to understand was, let me see if I can understand kind of what's happening, and I'll tell you kind of where I'm at with it, and tell you that what we'll see in my next videos is, I kind of moved forward with developing a set of enemies and kind of working with my prior knowledge of micro chapbook RPG, and its system was setting up a kind of easy system of solo dungeon generation for solo role play. And now I kind of took some of those rules for dungeon generation and kind of used them to kind of generate a system for, generating my Skorne world, my Skorne enemies. And as we move forward into the next video, we will I'll show you what I did there, which may give you some tool sets to work with yourself, either with Skorne or just for other systems. And we'll be able to confront these things, because at the end of the day, we can hem and haw about how these systems work, or we can actually get down to it. Now, look, when we deal with these rules light systems, there's a lot that's going to be left to us. So the question is always, and especially with a system that's not set up or doesn't include, and if you're a solo role player, you can do it like this. We say hello to Tim Frey joining us in the live chat. Thank you, Tim Frey. A silver medal onto you for live chat participation, and we thank you. The solo role player knows that you're going to be having to leave the rules as written, and the question is, how much are we going to derivate, and how much are we changing things, and how much are we getting the experience that's intended? So when we're dealing with a rules light system where so much is going to be left to our discretion anyway, we don't want to overthink it. We don't want to underthink it. We're here to have a good time. But at the same time, we want to know that we are getting what the author is intending, and we're not just totally playing with ourselves. So getting to not trying to give you what Sam says on his Galactic Dude Man. Welcome to the chat. How you doing, baby? Bronze medal onto you for live chat participation. Thank you for joining us. Getting into the combat of Skorne and coming back and rereading the sections on combat, and then going to Sam's, the author's blog posts. Here's what I can tell you, what I understand about it. And then I'll tell you the extra wrinkle that caused me to have a new problem. So I thought I came to understand it, and then there was an extra wrinkle. Number one, all of these systems are designed to be, these FKR, Free Krieg, Spiel systems are designed to be narrative. They're designed to be an interplay between the referee, or Skorne in this place, how they're characterized, the dungeon master, and the players. They're not supposed to be based on the rules. And specifically, philosophically, with the combat being not based on rolls of the dice, I think philosophically what Sam, the author, is telling us is we don't want the luck of the possible luck of the dice to be a crutch for the player characters to say, we know that there's no good reason for us to believe that our lowly serfs can beat this red dragon, but we know and understand, hey, fuck, we're not going to experience the boiling of the flesh when this dragon breathes fire on us. And we know that, hey, you never know. The referee can roll snake eyes on the 2d6, and we might manage to all simultaneously roll 12s across the board. Kalu Kalay, it could happen, so we could win. So why not? And the point of Skorne, by taking and making this ironclad rule of saying damage is just dealt, there is no roll of the dice, says by taking that, this is my understanding, I don't want to put words in everybody's mouth, by taking the dice out of the combat scenarios and simply saying, in cases of violent confrontations, and it's specifically, if it's not in the text of Skorne, you'd have to go to the blog post of Sam Dobler to get the more fleshed out discussion of these matters, which is part of the issues that people have with these light rule sets, is to say, if it's not in here, is it in here? And if it's not in here, is it adequately explained, or what? Or when Chris McDowell's from Bastion Land says, "Oh, I love this," is he saying that he loves this, or is he really saying, "I love the experience of I'm into FKR right now, and I'm reading an FKR rule set, and that's a jazzy experience, and I'm Chris McDowell, and I'm getting fucking paid to do this shit, and that's fucking awesome. So I'm jazzed, you know what I mean? And I'm fucking, you know what I mean? You know, find me Ben Minton and the guy from fucking Index RPG is down a fucking foot and he's fucking smiling. You know what I mean? Fuck. Hey, it's like when shit's good, it is, or is it the case of when, I'm here going, I got bills to pay and I'm telling you, I'm reading this shit and it's like, I love you, Sam. Greta Van Fleet still fucking suck. It's a good thing you're fucking an open-minded IMTJ 6'9" double Delta wing, whatever, because I'm a fucking pissed off, complex PTSD surviving chip on my shoulder motherfucker who's telling you, I don't know, man, I'm trying to help. I love you, but this shit might not make this. You might be a guy fucking kissing Jim Perkins' ass, being like, no rolls for anything because, yeah, damage is just dealt. And it's like, to whom? Because because when I was doing this, I thought I fucking get it. And I did get it for a minute. And I thought to myself, well, that works if it's just one enemy and one fucking guy, the explanation I'm about to give you. But then if there's more than 2 people or 3 people in the room, then it's just like, well, then how the hell? Then it's just like a guideline. Because basically it's like this. I guess my first understanding was like this. The easiest way to understand it is this, is that violence is like radiation. So whenever anybody is in a combat situation, so the easiest way to understand it is like 2 combatants. Say I've got my guy, Abel. Abel has, if he's not using his power of corrosion, if he's just using his weapon, his martial weapon of a flail, which does 2 hits of damage. So if you're in a fight with Abel, every cycle, and it's not even explained. There's no statement about rounds or anything. Sam, I love you, baby, but it's never even explained that there's rounds or whatever. But every kind of, I guess, the implied cycle of violence, like instance and moment of violence, right? If you're in violence with Abel, you're exposed to Abel. Abel is costing you 2 hits of damage. If Abel is fighting with, say, I got one of my guys here. I got one of my enemies I drew up here. I called them one of this guy. Okay, I got a guy, a vacant sheriff's officer. A vacant sheriff's officer is dangerous. He does 3 hits of damage with various weapons and attacks from various distances. I'm allowed to do that. And he takes 4 hits. He can take 4 hits before he goes down. Our boy Abel can take 6 hits before he goes down. So if the vacant sheriff's officer and Abel, the minute violence starts between them, and he's armored, the sheriff's officer is armored, so 1 hit is negated every time he gets hit. So every time he's with Abel, Abel is doing 2 hits against him, but he's only doing 1 hit. So every time he's with Abel's doing 1 hit against him, but this dude is doing 3 hits against Abel. So Abel can only last in the hit and with him like for 2 rounds. But this guy can last against Abel for 4 rounds. So Abel knows if we go put this guy against Abel, we know that Abel can't beat this guy. He can't through violence. Abel cannot beat the vacant sheriff's officer with his flail. It's impossible. So by making that impossible, the game of Skorne says to us, Abel, if you want to take out the vacant sheriff's officer is blocking your way, Abel, you're not going to be able to do it through the luck of the dice. You're just not. You're not going to be able to save, try again, go back to the save point and reset. It's like Dark Souls. You're going to lose your experience. You're not going to be able to achieve it that way. If the jump distance is more than Mario can jump, it's impossible. You're not going to beat it by jumping it. If it's possible to do, but it's just a matter of timing, you got to do it through timing. You can time the jump, but this is impossible under the rules of Skorne. So you're going to have to solve that problem a different way. But now here's the problem. The rules as articulated don't say then, so we're going to get it, we can do hirelings, or we're going to drop a bomb on the guy, or we're going to roll a powdered barrel against the guy. That's what's listed. They're saying in Skorne, it is said you're going to have to do creative thinking. You're going to have to do other ideas and other approaches to do the thing, but it's not exactly told to you. Number one, you're not told necessarily how that's going to work. Ranged weapons aren't listed. Their damage isn't listed. There's a lot of things that aren't listed. It is what it is. We say hello to Jonaside. You're at work, baby. Jonaside. There you go. I thank God I've got tarot cards here. Emergency tarot cards. They're everywhere. I gotta go, folks. Soon. Right about nowsies. To make sure I get the rules to play stud poker from the deck. So I thought I had it. So I thought, okay, so I'm primarily a solo player. So when I thought I had that, I was like, okay. I was very frustrated in my first video that I did on Skorne, and I thought that the combat, I was like, I just don't know. But then when I thought I got that notion of it's like being exposed to radiation, and just think of it as once you've calculated what the radiation like half-life of one individual in the combat is against the other individual, then you can just count. And then basically once you have that formula, then I think the DM can share that formula with the players to let them know and let them know and understand, or use that as the metric, maybe not to tell them exactly what it is, but to use that as the methodology of telegraphing the danger to the players. There's no life lesson gained, and there's no fun gained by teaching your player characters, I think. Oh, the lesson is life's not fair. She looked like a little girl, but she was actually a demon that just absorbed your soul in one hit. Deal with it. It's Monty Hall. There's 3 doors. You picked the door for instant death. Congratulations, Jonaside. You're a dickhead. Give me your character sheet now. I said, give me your character sheet now. Wipe my ass with it. You like that, bitch? You like that, bitch? Yeah, you fucked my ex-wife. I'm wiping my ass with your level 20 character. Yeah. Yeah. You don't want to play with me ever again? Well, you're kicked out of the table too. So fuck you. Okay? How does my dick taste? How does my dick taste? Get him out of here. You're banned from the table. You're banned from the table. I'm Skorne. I'm Skorne. And I paralyze you, and you have no dick. And you have no dick anymore. I'm okay. Keep playing. We're all playing. We're fine. I'm fine. I have to be on time to get my kids. Listen, Pages Live. This is fun. There's always that bitch at the table just sitting there. This is fun. Okay, we get it. You can roll next, honey. And where were you? Where were you? In the Harpy's claws? Well, guess what? She's queen of the fucking Harpies, just like my ex-wife, fucking Jonaside. Listen. What's up, CW? AJ Cap, what's going on, baby? I do have to get these kids. Yo, we're a happy family. Ain't that 10 of cups? We're a happy family. I think this can work. So listen, so here's the deal. So here was the next thing. So I'm sitting there and I'm going, and I was doing the thing, and I was like, I spent hours with Skorne, and I finally felt like I was getting the combat, and I was like, Kalei. I'm like, it's like radiation. So, and I was doing like, I was setting up dungeon rooms, and I got the 5 different types of enemies and the tyrant, so I can do the micro chat book RPG, random enemies and how much blah blah blah, and you set up the little rooms and blah blah blah. And I was doing it all, and then I was like, holy shit. But I was like, but I'm like, okay, so if you couldn't beat that person, you would just go in with hirelings. And then I immediately thought to myself, oh, that's right. Multiple more people would go in not as a solo player, they would go in with teams or with multiple people. And then I thought to myself, how does this combat work with multiple people? And I guess it just comes down to declared actions, that if you say that you've performed this action of, I go to hit metallic maiden of the mystery to the left, it just occurs. And if the DM says the metallic maiden of mystery rolls to the left and slices you, it happens. But then why would anyone narratively describe a miss? And in a combat scenario where no one narratively describes a miss, is that going to be interesting? And I think that it may be the fact that what I thought is the value is that it could be just that the value of this mechanic, it may just be that the value of the mechanic of the game of Scorn is, okay, this mechanic forces players in this game to not play this dark world that's so invites combat as a combat game, and therefore requires you to think more like a Call of Cthulhu type situation, to approach it more puzzly, more like the closest thing I could think of is that it encourages people to think more like a Metal Gear Solid. Like, if you make eye contact with the enemy, you've lost. Therefore, we've got to think more strategically of thinking like that combat is defeat, or that we have to think more like this, and that just by essentially by creating a situation where combat becomes untenable, or kind of this bizarre ball of wax, that if for no other reason, it discourages combat in this way, makes it somehow ugly or offensive, that even if it's unintentional, it'll still encourage this other thing to happen. But if it's not intentional, if it's meant to be workable, then I don't know if it's worked. There it seems to be that there needs to be something, more information given, if it's not just going to be people making shit up. But like I said, like that seems to be, and like I said, if it's just been food for thought, it's provided me food for thought. As a solo role player, this notion that a lot of people don't get, is that the prep is play. Figuring out how this can be a solo RPG when unintended, and if this works, if this doesn't work, if this is a breaking it, if this is working it, if this is a fair use of it, meditate upon that. That is taking you away from the humdrum activities of life and bringing you into the role-playing space. You are, as a solo role player, both the DM and the player. Therefore, whether you are engaged in like a player looking at the rules, figuring out how to play the game, or you're switching seamlessly back to the DM role of figuring out how you will run the game, you're still getting value out of the purchase. You're still playing. And if you're like, I theorize the majority of TTRPG hobbyists today, that is the majority of actual play that's happening. I know that there are people on YouTube who are telling true stories of spending large amount of times playing TTRPG games, but I believe that the majority of people involved in this hobby never engage in any other players because there are not that many other players. And it is hard for most of us to even successfully engage with those who are as different as we are with each other. And we spend the majority of our times engaged in this hobby alone. And where we do engage with other human beings, we're engaged with human beings at work, at church or synagogue, or in the workplace, or in our home lives, where we engage with our romantic partners who have no interest in this shit at all. I love you. I love you. I love you. If nobody told you they loved you today, somebody just did. That's somebody's CW chanter. We are a happy family, 10 of cups, and I got to get my kids so that they don't yell at me. I will be back maybe later to talk to you about the progress I've made as turning Skorne into some solo play. I love you. I love you. I love you. Peace be upon you.